how much did your life change about that after that? Like, did you had your inbox completely swamped from one day to another after you published this, and because everyone all of a sudden wanted to talk with you, or how did it happen? Was there a before and after the Sahm indicator, or was it like live as usual?
Yeah, I think for me the most traumatic, I don't know, moment was even just going to the launch event for the policy volume, right? So they had Brookings hosted, and they had Ben Bernanke in a fireside chat, and they had all the different chapter people come up and explain. I knew I was going to explain like the idea of the proposal I'd made in the chapter. And I was sitting in the audience like during the beginning of the presentation, and someone mentioned, "Oh, the Sahm Rule." Da, da, da. And I'm like, whoa, what? It's like, what's going on here? Because it's not called anything in the chapter. The chapter just explains, and then there's a trigger, and this is what we're going to use. And, so I think for me, the first time that my name was attached to it was just kind of jarring. Because like there wasn't this Apple moment, as you put it, but it's like having being at the Fed, learning about macro forecasting. Even the year I was at the White House, there were some concerns that economic activity was, starting to soften. And so like being exposed to like, what do we track? What do we think about? Like if we're looking for and we're concerned, a lot of that is often like trying to forecast a recession, which is a little different than the Sahm Rule. But like, and so you just, like, I just kind of absorbed small changes and small increases in the unemployment rate can be really bad. Like there have been rules of thumb kind of like floating around, like in the Fed, like there's often something about like 3/10. And again, a lot of it's forecasting because you're trying to get ahead of it, right? So, but it's like there are rules of thumb at the Fed, and then a lot of the investment banks, there are people who, this kind of gets absorbed as a thing. So from some people, I actually got pushback about it being named the Sahm Rule. Like, oh, well, we knew this or we did that or that. And I'm just like, first of all, I didn't name it after me. But it's also like I did kind of democratize it. Like it's not sitting in like the bowels of the Fed. Like no one sees this thing. It's not just in Goldman Sachs newsletters that only select few get to read. It's like, but the thing is I took the time to actually what's the formula that works the best? What's the triggers? And I pulled all the data like at the time. Because the unemployment rate doesn't get revised a lot, but it does get revised a little bit. And so really trying to like kind of go back, what would it have looked like at that time? So I just took the time, and it was really lots of Saturday afternoons because I was a manager at the time. I didn't have a lot of time during the week to do this. Lots of Saturday afternoons fighting with a spreadsheet, trying to like, how do you like formalize the small increases are bad news, right? I'm really trying to, because you want to be accurate, but you also want to be fast, right? Because in terms of getting the stimulus and being early in a recession. And yeah, so it's, I guess I was a little, to me, the star of what I was working on was the putting fiscal support on autopilot.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a better Sahm Rule out there. I mean, I'd be happy to, it's not like that wasn't the point was like to be able to support. And I do know like in other countries, there's been some interest in this. There's no reason that rule should work in other countries because it does reflect certain labor market institutions in the United States, the way like we tend in recessions to allow or workers tend to be laid off and then end up in unemployment insurance. Other countries like Germany often will support employers to keep workers on the jobs. Of course, then the unemployment rate is not going to be as good a discussion. So, but to me, one of the things when it did get a lot of interest, particularly last year, as it was, the unemployment rate was rising and it's getting closer to the trigger, was frustrating is I got a lot of questions on, what's the Sahm Rule doing? Are we headed for a recession? And I was actually one of the not 100% of economists who said no recession in 2022. So I had done a lot of like recession discussions, but it was very rare, if like never, that someone would be like, well, if we had a recession, what should the White House do? What should Congress do? it was all about like, is a recession coming? Is a recession coming? And I'm like, but you're not, like, the important part is like, what do we do? So, yeah, so it's been interesting, but it's given me an opportunity to have lots of, conversations like this, and drawing attention to labor market dynamics and how we should think about that. And I do think it puts some in thought, like how would you, how could one address, try to support families in a recession. So,
Yeah.
but it has
Well,
been a little wild.
quite a
So,
ride, I'm sure. I'm sure it was
yeah.
not the objective, but you certainly became one of the most famous economists of the 2020s, I would argue. So well done for that. You've reached the end of this clip, but the story's not over. To watch the full episode, follow this link. Go on. You can do it.